The lower people tend to discuss about people. The average people tend to discuss about events. And the great people discuss concepts. So, this is something that I have explained in my previous video. When it comes to thinking, these concepts plays a greater role. What are concepts? Concepts are made enabling us to communicate. Anything and everything that you see in this world that we use to communicate, colors, objects, people, trees, anything is a concept that is created to communicate. When you when we say red, you know everybody knows what red is unless the person is colorblind. Colorblind people will not know red. Colorblind people, those who drive, right, will not recognize red, but they will recognize the red light by the position. When we say a tree, there are certain attributes that we identify and we conform what we see to the concept of tree that is established in our minds. So we can communicate. So those concepts which are identified in natural settings or the natural world, right, are used in our day-to-day conversations. So they had been evolving over time, and now they have taken different forms, and they have identified variations within those concepts, right? So you can differentiate mango tree from jack tree, right? So the concepts, the attributes belonging to those concepts have variabilities that we identify and we use them in our communication. The same way, there's a set of concepts that we use in our social settings, sociological explanation. When we want to explain our world, when we say a leader has a particular set of attributes that we look at, we identify. When you say an attitude, there are certain things that we identify in that particular concept. So when we want to think, it's an important thing that we identify the concepts correctly. When you want to identify the concepts, it's not the concept or the how we use the concept in our day-to-day communication that matters. It is how the people who define that concept has defined it, what are the attributes that they have used to define that concept that matters. We have to look into that. Then only we'll be having a synchronization in communication between what we say and what others will capture. Right? So that those things will be different if the level of understanding among people are different. I'll give you a classic example. During the COVID time, myself, my wife went out with some of our relatives along with us. There was a niece who was not even, okay, yeah, she was in kindergarten, right? So we went to a small boutique and ordered some hoppers and enjoyed it, and we wanted to have some tea. So the owner of the boutique gave us tea prepared with tea bags. Okay, so then what we obviously when we received it, what we did was we dip the tea bag and let it brew and take it out and squeeze it and place it on a saucer, and we drank the tea. So then this kid raised a question. She asked, "Why do you drink the water after you have washed tea, because in her mind drinking tea was not, the concept of drinking tea was not established. So she had this question. So that is the disparity between people when it comes to communication, if you do not have the right concept synchronized between these two people, right? So the idea, the most important thing is, when you want to communicate, we should know the attributes of the concepts that we are using, as how others use, or as how the it is commonly used. If this synchronization of concepts are not there among two people or two parties, then the communication will break down. What we express will not be what they understand. So that's the loss of communication. There's no synchronization of concepts when it comes to communication. So the when it comes to thinking, how this related to thinking is, the purpose of why we think is to communicate. Right? As if you are not going to communicate, right? Why do you think? Right? So at least thinking is getting ready or getting prepared for communication. Right? So one of the fundamental requirement of thinking is to be fully understand the concepts as generally among everyone, or understand the concepts as it is defined by the people who define the concepts. So when it comes to understanding concepts, or rather we say understanding the world, because the concepts define the world that we live in, we have to understand three things, or rather there are three questions that we can ask about any concept. That is, what, why, and how. Apart from these three questions that we can ask, there's nothing else, no other question exists. So this requires a bit of an elaboration, which I'll undertake in my next video.